The lawyer's office smelled like old wood and leather. I sat across from Carol, my estate attorney for the past 15 years. "David, what you're asking me to do is unusual," she said. "I was 72. My wife Linda died 8 months ago. Cancer, fast, brutal. Since the funeral, my kids had been different. Not grief different, inventory different. My daughter Lisa came by the house 3 times in the first month. Each time, she walked through rooms like she was measuring them, taking photos for memories. My son Tom asked if I had updated my will, week after the funeral. "Just want to make sure everything's in order, Dad. You know, in case." In case of what? I was healthy. 72 isn't 90, but they were already acting like I was gone. "I want to test them," I told Carol. "Before I actually die, I need to know who they really are." She leaned back in her chair. "You want to hold a living will reading? Is that legal?" "It's not illegal. Unorthodox? Absolutely. But it's going to hurt. What you see, I mean. I've already seen enough. I just need proof." "Used to be." Lisa called once a week. Tom stopped by every Sunday with the grandkids Tyler and Megan. After Linda died, the calls dropped off. The visits became too busy. Soccer practice, homework. Jennifer wasn't feeling well. But last Tuesday, Lisa called asking about the lake house, if I'd considered selling while the market's good. The lake house where Linda and I spent 30 summers, where the kids learned to swim, where we celebrated every 4th of July with fireworks over the water. "I'm just saying, Dad, it's a lot of upkeep for one person, and you're alone now, alone. Like that was a reason to erase every memory Linda and I built together. So here's what I'm proposing," I said to Carol. "We schedule a will reading. I tell them I'm sick, terminal, give it 6 months. We see how they react. Then I show up at the reading, alive, and I hear what they say when they think I can't hear them." Carol was quiet for a long time. "If you do this, David, you can't unsee what you'll see." "I know. And if they fail this test, then I change the will. For real." She pulled out a legal pad, started taking notes. "Okay, let's plan this." Linda and I had built an estate worth just over $1.5 million, and suddenly my kids started counting it like it was already theirs. I wasn't going there to hear my will. I was going there to hear my children. They thought I'd be gone for that reading. They didn't know I'd be sitting 10 feet away, and when they started fighting, I realized I'd been feeding strangers at my own table for years. Carol laid it out like a military operation. I'd tell them I was terminal, heart condition, 6 months to live. I made it believable. We'd schedule the will reading for a month out, tell them I wanted to be there in spirit, and I'd watch from the side office. Carol's building used to house witness and interviews. One-way glass was part of the build, and she'd never had a reason to remove it. I'd hear everything they said when they thought I was gone. If they noticed the glass, if they suspected anything, the whole test would collapse. "What if they're good?" Carol asked. "What if they grieve properly? Then I'll apologize." But I didn't think that would happen. "What do I tell them the will says? The house goes to Lisa, lake house to Tom, retirement account split 50-50. Everything I worked 40 years to build, everything fair, everything equal. And if they fight over it, then they show me who they are." I went home that night and sat in Linda's chair, the one by the window where she used to read. I could still smell her perfume in the fabric, lavender, and something else I could never quite name. "I hope I'm wrong," I said out loud, to her, to the empty room. "I hope they're just grieving. I hope I'm being paranoid." But Ben's daughter had cleaned him out. My neighbor Diane's son put her in a nursing home and sold her house before she even knew it was listed. At the senior center, 3 different people told me the same story. Kids who couldn't wait for the inheritance. I wasn't being paranoid. I was being realistic. The next morning, I called Lisa. "Honey, I need to tell you something. Can you and Tom come over tonight? Is everything okay? Just come over. 6 o'clock. Both of you." She heard something in my voice. "Dad, you're scaring me." 6 o'clock, I said. I hung up before she could ask more questions. They showed up at 5:45. Early, both of them. Lisa with Brad, her husband. Tom with Jennifer, no grandkids. They left Tyler and Megan with a babysitter. That told me something too. We sat in the living room, the same room where we used to open Christmas presents when they were kids, where Linda and I told them we were having another baby, where we celebrated promotions and graduations and engagements. Now it felt like a courtroom. "I went to the doctor last week," I said. "They found something." Lisa's hand went to her mouth. Tom leaned forward. "My heart, there's a blockage, a bad one. They can't operate. Too risky at my age." "Dad," Lisa started. "They gave me 6 months, maybe less." Silent. Jennifer whispered something to Tom. He nodded. We're going to get a second opinion, Lisa said. There are specialists, new treatments. Dad, you can't just give up. I've already seen 3 doctors. They all said the same thing. Tom stood up, started pacing. This doesn't make sense. You're healthy. You play golf twice a week. You walk 3 miles every morning. I was healthy. Past tense. Brad spoke for the first time. Have you thought about arrangements? Arrangements. He meant my funeral. I'm meeting with Carol tomorrow, updating the will, making sure everything's in order. Lisa cried. Real tears. I almost stopped right there, almost called the whole thing off. But then Brad put his hand on her shoulder and said, "It's okay. We'll get through this. We, not you. We." Like he was already part of the inheritance. I want you both at the reading, I said. Carol's going to schedule it for a month from now. I know that sounds fast, but I want to be there, in spirit. Dad, don't talk like that, Tom said. But he didn't argue about the timeline. They stayed for an hour, hugged me, told me they loved me, said they'd visit more often. After they left, I sat in Linda's chair again. Week 1, I said to her ghost. Let's see what week 2 brings. Week 2 brought 3 visits. Monday, Lisa showed up with a casserole, chicken and rice, Linda's recipe. She heated it up, served me a plate, then spent 40 minutes walking through the house. Just thinking about memories, she said. But I saw her taking notes in her phone, room by room, like she was doing inventory. Wednesday, Tom came by after work, brought beer. We sat on the porch. Dad, have you thought about what you want to do with the lake house? There it was. Leave it to you, like we always planned. He drank his beer, looked out at the yard. Jennifer and I were talking. Might make more sense to sell it. Split the money with Lisa. That way she gets something too. Lisa's getting the main house. Right, but this house is worth more. The neighborhood, the lot size. We just want things to be fair. Fair. He wanted to sell the lake house where Linda scattered her mother's ashes, where we celebrated our 30th anniversary, where Tom proposed to Jennifer on the dock at sunset. We'll see, I said. Friday, both of them came, together, with Carol's office address written on a piece of paper. We stopped by to see Carol, Lisa said, just to make sure she has everything she needs. You know, for the will. They'd gone to my lawyer, behind my back, without asking me. She said the will reading's set for the 15th, Tom said. That's 2 weeks away. I know. Dad, you don't have to do this. You could just tell us what's in the will. Save everyone the stress. I want to do it this way. Lisa sat next to me, took my hand. Her skin was cold. We love you, Dad. We just want to make sure Mom's wishes are honored too. Mom's wishes. Linda's wishes. Linda wanted the lake house to stay in the family forever. She made me promise. Last words she said before the morphine took her under. Don't let them sell the lake house. Your mom's wishes will be honored, I said. They left. I called Carol. They came to see you. Yep. Wanted to help with the arrangements. What'd you tell them? That everything was in order. The reading's set for the 15th, 2 o'clock. You sure you want to do this, David? I looked at the photo of Linda on the mantel. Her smile, her eyes, the way she looked at our wedding. I'm sure. The 15th arrived. I got to Carol's office at 1:30. She led me to the observation room, one-way mirror into the conference room. I sat, watched, waited. At 1:55, Lisa arrived, black dress, crying. Brad held her hand. At 1:58, Tom showed up, suit and tie. Jennifer wore pearls. Brad and Jennifer sat with them, quiet, watching. Lisa and Tom sat on opposite sides of the table. No small talk. At 2 loud, Carol walked in. Thank you for coming. David wanted this done while the grief was still fresh. Lisa dabbed her eyes. He was always so organized. Carol opened the folder. This is David's last will and testament. She read it. The house, to Lisa, $640,000. The lake house to Tom, $480,000. Retirement account, $290,000. Split 50-50. Life insurance, $100,000. Split. She finished. Silence. Then Tom said, the main house is worth $160,000 more. No, I'm sorry Dad's dead. Just math. Lisa leaned forward. Mom and Dad always said things would be equal. Equal. Would be selling both properties and splitting the money, Brad said. Jennifer nodded. Clean split. No arguments. Carol cleared her throat. The will specifically states that the lake house is not to be sold. David's wishes were clear. Dad's not here anymore, Tom said. We have to make practical decisions. He would understand. Lisa turned on him. You just want to sell because you know the main house is worth more. You're getting a bigger house, I'm getting a cabin that costs $10,000 a year in upkeep. That cabin is where Mom wanted her ashes, and they were scattered. But now it's just property. Just property. I stood up, nearly went in. Carol saw me through the mirror, shook her head. Wait, what if we sell both? Jennifer suggested. Split everything 50-50. I don't feel cheated, Lisa said. I feel like Tom's being greedy. Me? You came to Dad's house every week taking inventory. I was spending time with him. You were measuring furniture. They kept going. Carol tried to moderate. They talked over her. Brad suggested selling the main house, keeping the lake house, splitting insurance 60-40. Tom wanted to sell the lake house, keep the main house, split retirement 70-30. Brad leaned back. Let's just settle it today so we don't have to keep coming back. They negotiated my life like a business deal. Not once did anyone say they'd miss me. Not once did anyone mention Linda. After 30 minutes, Lisa stood up. I'm calling a probate lawyer. Go ahead, Tom said. I'll call one too. Carol closed the folder. Before you do that, there's something you should know. They both turned. Your father wanted to be here for this reading. In spirit, he said. And he is. Lisa frowned. What? I opened the door, walked in. Hi, kids, and yes, Carol recorded every word, so don't bother rewriting history. She tapped the folder. A tiny red recorder light blinked from inside. If anyone challenges what happened in this room, I'll play it back in court, Lisa screamed. Tom's face went white. Jennifer said, Oh my God! Dad? Lisa whispered. You're dead. Do I look dead? Tom found his voice first. What is this? What's going on? Turns out I wasn't dying at all, I said. Carol stood. David was never dying. The heart condition was a test. A test? Lisa's voice went shrill. You faked being sick? I faked being terminal. Tom looked at Carol. This is illegal. It's not, Carol said. Lisa's tears were gone. Why would you do this? Because I needed to know who you really were, before I actually died. Tom pushed back from the table. So what? This was all a stunt. You think you can just rewrite everything? I pulled out the real will, the one Carol and I prepared last night. The will I just read. That's void. Here's the real one. I handed it to Carol. She opened it. The house, 1247 Maple Street, will be sold. Proceeds go to Clearwater County Hospice Center, the place that held Linda's hand when I couldn't. Lisa gasped. The lake house, 32 Clearwater Drive, will be donated to the State Parks Department to be used as a nature education center named after Linda. Tom stood up. You can't do this. I can, and I did. The retirement accounts? Brad asked. Split between Tyler and Megan, in trust. They get it when they turn 25. The grandkids, Lisa said. You're giving everything to them? I'm giving it to the people who actually loved me. And Linda. Jennifer leaned forward. Tom, say something. But Tom was staring at the table. For the record, I said, I heard everything, every word, every number. I heard you reduce your mother's memory to property values. I heard you argue over furniture before my body was even cold. Dad, Lisa tried. I heard you say the lake house was just property, the place where Linda wanted her ashes, just property. Silence. I would have left you everything. Left, I said. Everything. If you'd just acted like you cared. If you'd said one word about missing me, about honoring Linda. We do care, Lisa said. We're just practical. You're greedy. There's a difference, and greed doesn't get rewarded in my house. Tom finally looked up. So that's it? We get nothing? You get a lesson about what happens when you treat your parents like bank accounts. Carol cleared her throat. There is one provision. Lisa and Tom each get $10,000. David insisted. $10,000? Tom said. The estate's worth over $1 million and you're leaving us $10,000 each? Be grateful it's not zero, I said. I walked to the door. Stopped. By the way, I'll probably live another 10-15 years. My doctor says I'm in great health, so you've got a long wait. And when I do actually die, the will's not changing. This is final. I left them sitting there. 2 days later, Lisa called. Dad, please, can we talk? We can talk, but the will's not changing. She showed up alone. No Brad, no prepared speech, no excuses. We sat on the porch, same chairs where Linda and I used to watch sunsets. You humiliated us, she said first. Then her voice cracked. And we deserved it. I'm sorry, Dad. Not because of the money, because of what I said, what we said, what I became. You meant it. I was scared, Dad, and I turned fear into control. We sat quiet. Can we fix this? I don't know. What would it take? Time. and proof you understand why I did what I did. I understand now. You wanted to see if we'd honor Mom's wishes, and we didn't. Tom never called. But 2 weeks later, Tyler showed up. Tyler was 16. Quiet kid, smart, looked like Linda around the eyes. "Grandpa, can I talk to you?" "Come on in." We sat in the living room. He looked nervous, kept looking at his hands. "Dad told me what happened. At the lawyer's office. The whole thing." "Did he tell you the whole story?" "He said you faked being sick to trick them, that you changed your will to cut them out. He said it wasn't fair." "That's part of it. What else did he say?" "Is it true? All of it?" I told him everything. The visits, the inventory, the will reading, what I heard them say. When I finished, he said, "Dad cried that night. I heard him." "Did he say why?" "He said he was ashamed, that when it mattered, he chose money over your memory." I didn't know what to say. "Why did you leave the money to me and Megan?" "Because you're the only ones who visited me after your grandma died without asking about the house." He looked at his shoes. "I miss Grandma." "Me too, kiddo." Tyler stood to leave, stopped at the door. "Grandpa, I'm glad you're not dead." "Me too." 6 months later, Ben called. "Dave, my son's asking about my will. Should I be worried? Do you trust him?" "I don't know." I told him what I did. The fake and diagnosis. The will reading test. "That's genius," he said. "Think I could do the same?" "Only if you're ready to see the truth." 2 months later, he called back. His son passed the test. His daughter didn't. He rewrote everything. That's the thing about getting old. People start treating you like you're already gone. But you don't have to let them. Test them. See who they really are. And then decide. If you're reading this and your kids are acting strange, asking too many questions about your finances, measuring your furniture, talking about when you're gone, pay attention. Trust your gut. You might have 10 good years left. 20. Don't spend them wondering if your kids are waiting for you to die. Watch what they do when they think you're not listening. Because the people who really love you won't count your money before you're cold. They'll care about your comfort, not your cash. Everything else is just noise. You don't owe anyone an inheritance. You owe them truth and respect and love. They owe you the same. If they can't give it, change the locks, change the will, change whatever you need to change. You earned it. You decide. Lisa calls once a week now, sometimes twice. Asks how I'm doing. Tells me about her week. Never mentions the house. Tom sends cards on holidays, but he doesn't visit. Tyler comes by every Sunday. We watch football, order pizza. Don't talk about money. The will's staying as written. The house and lake house go to charity. The retirement money goes to the grandkids. That's final. Because I gave my kids a choice. They chose wrong. And some choices you don't get to undo. If they only love you when you're leaving them something, then they don't love you. They love the inheritance, not you. And they only call when they think it's time to collect.